Want to start or scale your property development business to 8 figures and beyond? Then you're in the right place. This is the Property Experts Podcast with Ben Richards and Jack Jiggins, two serial entrepreneurs bringing weekly insights from our award-winning businesses. In these podcasts, you'll learn how we found, funded and delivered over £80 million worth of property in the last 6 years, with templates you can use, deal analysis and deep dive discussions that will help you build your businesses successfully. We hope you'll enjoy. Hello, welcome to this week's episode, and boy do we have a banger for you guys. We haven't done this before, and I'm super excited to do it because we are literally unveiling the curtain on the businesses. We're going deep behind the scenes. Last Friday we mentioned that we on a quarterly or 2 or 3 times a year, we have a strategy day with all of the different businesses, all of the people within each business, and we go through each of the businesses and what they're doing, how they've got there, the problems that it's having, how we're overcoming them, and all that really good stuff that you don't get to see on the shiny Instagram and TikTok reels, where it's just putting your best foot forward. So this will be hopefully really interesting for people to see behind the scenes of our businesses. I'm sure there'll be a huge number of questions that come out of this, so make sure you drop them down below in the comments, and let's get stuck into it. So like I mentioned, this is a special look behind the scenes within the XP group, the ecosystem. Special episode, the 14th of August 2026 for those tuning in on audio format. Just before we get into that, a really special announcements really, that we've done this over the last 3 years. Every year we've done a charity challenge for the last 3 years. For the first 2 years we kayaked 65-ish kilometers down the river Thames from Abingdon all the way to Henley, and we raised, I think in our first year, something like £9,000, second year £5,000. Last year we did a property paddle charity event where we basically went non-stop for 17 hours playing paddle in the in the essence of charity, and this year we're doing it again. So it's for better mental health, super important, very close to my heart. We're raising funds for the Oxfordshire segment of Mind, which is for better mental health, and the challenge is different this year, and it's going to be I'm quite really got around my head that I'm going to need to actually do some work for this. I've just realized that I need to start actually training for it, because I can't remember the last time I actually got on a bike, but myself, Jack and all of the team are going to be doing one of 2 challenges. We're going to be either cycling 65 miles. We're starting in Long Hanborough, which is one of our projects, and then we're going to do a tour around some of our projects during that 65-mile challenge. So going through Abingdon, seeing some of our sites there, through Tame, through Princess Risborough, which is a project that we finished last year, through Marlow, which is a project we finished earlier this year, and then finishing in Henley-on-Thames. And then some other people within the team are going to be the walkers. So we're going to have a mix of walkers, a mix of cyclists. The walkers are basically going to walk a marathon. So we're probably going to be starting this at 6-7 in the morning, and we don't anticipate stopping until probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the sort of time frames that this is probably going to take. So it's all in the aid of charity for the mental health charity Mind. We have a Just Giving page. If you go to /XP-property-5, maybe it's our 5th year. Is that 5th year? Must be, if it's -5. But yeah, super excited by this. Need to get on the bike and actually do some work, otherwise I am going to be blowing after a few miles, and have serious problems with my behind, I'm sure. So
fourth year running.
4th year, okay, it's 4th
2
year.
kayaks, 1 paddle.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. So yeah, we would absolutely love for your donations to start rolling in. We're going to be pushing this hard over the next month. It's on the 25th of September. It's a Friday. It's the day before my birthday. If anyone does want to get involved in this, then do reach out. I'm sure we can make space for you. The more the merrier. The more we raise, the more going to such a great charitable cause. And yeah, super excited by that.
We already have a donation. Did you know?
Do we?
We're out of dates. Yeah.
Nice. Who's that? Who's been very generous? Is it your nan?
Anonymous?
Okay, we'll take it. Yeah, so get those charitable donations rolling in. We want to see us beat our first year total of £9,000. That will be absolutely incredible. Cool. So for those that don't tune in regularly, my name is Ben Richards. This is Jack Jiggins. He's my business partner for numerous businesses, but our predominant business is XP Property. It's an investment and development business operating in London and the home counties. Our aim is to deliver 1,000 homes and £1 billion in property in UK. And we do that by collaborating with trusted investors. Our team and our wider circle describe us as ambitious, transparent, and creative. And I think we absolutely nail all of those. And you'll see probably in this episode that ambition comes through in terms of how much is going on. The transparency, because we're actually talking about it and drawing back the curtain, and being creative in terms of how we do everything within each business. We can't do it without other external investors, and we have numerous opportunities at the moment to invest within XP Property, ranging from £100,000 all the way up to £5 million. So if you're interested in investing in UK real estate, if you want to work with award-winning investors and developers like Jack and I, we would love to speak to you. No obligation. We can talk you through how we operate, what opportunities we have, and we'll get a good understanding of what you're looking for. Add you to our waiting list of opportunities if there's nothing that suits your criteria now. And then when something does suit your criteria, we will be on the phone to have a conversation with you around what it would look like to invest in that particular scheme. We've also got other non-property related investments. We're raising £150,000 for our business XP surveys. You'll see later in this podcast how much XP surveys have grown, how much opportunity there is for future growth, how we are absolutely smashing it in that business. And if you're interested in putting a small sum as an angel investor into that business, we would gladly have a conversation with you. As always, there's exclusive referrals down below. We've got 90% off Xero accounting software for 6 months. We've got some capital on tap, 75 quid, referral code, Dext, Amex. There's all sorts of stuff down below. And if there's anything that you see us using, ask us if we do have any referral codes or we can make an introduction. We have actually some really good intros to property insurance brokers. We've used our insurance broker for the last 8 years. We never go elsewhere, and when we have tried to go elsewhere, these guys have always beaten the quotes. And from a service perspective, they are phenomenal. So if you want an intro to them, do let us know. Cool. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our foray of businesses. So as Ben mentioned and introduced, we used to do it more frequently, but now we do it twice a year. It's basically, the purpose behind this is to give you an example. If I showed my mum a photo of a property that we're buying, she wouldn't know whether we're doing the survey in XP Surveys, whether we're buying it in Central Suites or buying it in XP Property. And the whole point of these reviews is to bring every single person into the business to understand where we were, where we are, and where we're going in every business. So our surveyors get to learn about the management and HMO business. The people in the HMO business get to learn about the developments. Everyone in the business gets to see the progress on all the projects that they might have seen the early stages or latter stages. And it brings everyone very succinctly in tune. What I love about it is people ask questions about why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? Have we thought about this? And it gives the team an opportunity to think holistically about the business and come up with ideas. And actually, we've implemented a lot of things across the businesses that have been driven from the team members into these sessions. So super excited to share these with you guys. Obviously, we've removed a couple of things such as GP margin, MP margin, because purely our competitors just come on and absolutely pillage those and excel. But what we have done is shared pretty much 95% of what we shared on the day are in these slides. Obviously we have had to also slightly condense it down because I think we were in that room for 2.5 to 3 hours. But we kick off the session with explaining and helping everyone to understand the ecosystem and the cycle of a project and where each business fits into that cycle of the project. I had actually had to do this. This slide was pinched from my Goldman Sachs presentation because I had to pitch to board members of Goldman Sachs in 7 minutes what our businesses are, what we're planning on doing for growth. And believe it or not, it's very difficult to explain 5 businesses in 7 minutes when you also need more time to talk through other things. So I felt this very easy to explain thing. So the first thing on site is a survey. A measured survey is what we obviously do. There's obviously other surveys that can get carried out, including building surveys, structural surveys, but we measure. So we do topographical measured building surveys. Once those surveys are complete, it then will go into concept design or proposed planning design, which is obviously where Aura Architecture sit in that ecosystem of the cycle. Once it's designed, XP Property is the development company. Now, a little bit of a secret, XP Property might have bought the site, instructed XP Surveys and extracted Aura, but the chronological way that the site is delivered is how we envisage these. So we then finish off with the lettings, management and rental, which is our privately run HMO portfolio, and our social housing portfolio, which is Central Suites and Apara Social. So you can kind of see there how all the way through the projects, we've got an element of a business in control of that part of the process. And I think that that's been one of the main factors that all of our businesses have been able to grow the way they have. There's benefit to having a group structure where you're up and down the verticals, having more control, having more speed, having more understanding. Our surveyors know what we need to deliver from a development company, and Aura are in tune with how we design things, how we deliver things, etc. So you get it's not really like economies of scale, but it's efficiency of scale of building
Control,
that sort of cookie cutter process. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And these are the team members across all the businesses. There's actually quite a few faces missing off there from the Aura slide, which will be coming up next. But the reason that we have this presentation, and actually one huge benefit that we have producing this, is we show all the faces on screen, who's who's doing what, and where this is actually also really beneficial if you are in a growing business and team, is all of these sessions are recorded so that if we have any new starters, they can get a fast track explanation of where the businesses are at, who is who's doing what, because across the businesses, I think there's about 30 plus people now across the businesses. There's faces that people might not necessarily be familiar with. And because we're not one big company, we're 4 or 5 different companies. It's good that everyone can feel that there's that low barrier to be able to engage with anyone in the team and build a very flat structure, which is what we like to run our businesses. So I don't need to go into any more detail, but we break it up who's who does what. And we always have people joining and people maybe saying farewell. So it's a nice opportunity to give everyone a soft landing, and also if they are new, know who everyone is.
Nice. I mean, on that note, if you tuned in over the last couple of months, you'd have seen that we are recruiting in various businesses. So head back to previous episodes, or know that in Aura, we're looking for an architect, a developer-led architect. We're looking for an interior designer. We're looking for CAD technician and sort of junior surveys and XP surveys. And I think that's we've now onboarded literally this morning the new social media manager for Aura and XP Surveys. But even if we don't have a job advertised, we've taken on people with the right caliber, with the right attitude, with the right tenacity before necessarily needing it in the business. So if you're interested in working with us, if you like the sound of what we have to talk about in this episode, and everything that you know about us, then reach out to one of Jack or I, or email info@xpproperty.co.uk with your CV and a little covering letter. Cool. So let's jump into Aura. We're going to start with Aura. I guess it's a little bit out of order in terms of what we've just done, but this is the way it is. So Aura's been around now for 12 years officially, since I started the business in 2014. Yeah. But I didn't go fully all guns blazing until 2017 when I left the Berkeley Group. So it's been through cycles. We're going through a real shuffle again now. The business is sort of changing. We've come out of a couple of years of difficulty. We've had a lot of team leave over the last couple of months. We've got some more team members leaving. So Gabby, who's been with me for 7 years, is moving back to New Zealand. So we'll be sort of saying goodbye to her at the end of the year. She's going to be working cross borders until then. And Molly's just moved to Canada. So she's fighting bears. And I spoke to her this morning. She went whale watching at the weekend, and she saw a humpback whale breach and flop into the, I mean, incredible. So fair play to her. She's building a new life out there. So the business has shuffled and expanded and contracted as time goes by. And I think what you realize is when you spend this long in business, people will come and go. You want as low a churn as possible. You want to keep good people as long as you possibly can and grow with the business. That's the ideal. But there's always going to be a bit of churn here and there. Talking about the ecosystem, what I thought it would be useful to show everyone in our team is how much work XP and Aura and Central Suites and Aparo do between them. So over the last 5-6 years, Aura has designed about 150 new homes and offices for the rest of the ecosystem. Within that, we've created over 90 supported living homes. So that's mainly for Aparo, and that's been largely in sort of Southwest London, Croydon and surrounding areas. And Aparo is a social housing portfolio that we've been building over the last 6 years into a bit of a beast. It's gone through lots of challenging times. We don't really have time to go into that, but fundamentally, 90 plus supported living units. It might even be more than that when I sort of count these up and look at some of the ones that we did a little bit of work on, but not a huge amount. But you can see on this list, some are finished, some have been retained, some have been sold, some are due for completion this year, some are due for completion early next year. But this is the collaboration, and like Jack says, when you've got vertical integration within your businesses like this, there's a good amount of work that's sustaining the other businesses through the other business. So when you look at the figures, which I've taken out of this, but fundamentally over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, almost every year it's been somewhere between 20 and 25% of Aura's revenue has been from the XP and the Aparo and the wider ecosystem. So that's a really good base of work to satisfy the overhead that Aura's got, to give control and better productivity over the work that's done by XP and the wider ecosystem. So really good to see. And when you sort of list it out like this, it's awesome to kind of look back and think, oh yeah, we did that, we did this one, we did that one went well, that one didn't go so well, and it's useful to kind of pat yourself on the back and look back at these types of things. We always talk about dashboards. We've just transferred over to Zoho CRM, which now manages all of our front end sales and marketing inquiries, goes through the sales funnel. So I've got a very clear dashboard for me as a director. And, if this is you starting a new business, you need to be thinking about very quick and easy information that you can get from these types of dashboards, where it's very high level information. How many inquiries have we got? Are we on target? How many proposals have we sent out? How many jobs have we won from that? What is the value of those instructions? Are we hitting our metrics? And that filters down to then the management team, the senior leadership team. Graham, who's my ops and design director, all of that is fed down to the team. And if we're not hitting targets, we need to drill into why. Then you go into the minutiae of each element of why maybe aren't we converting as much as we should? Why aren't we getting any leads in the first place? And all that good stuff. So dashboards are fundamental to you as a driver of your business, managing director, CEO, whatever you want to call yourself, entrepreneur. If you're the head of that spear, you need to be pushing things forward. We always like to analyze kind of our marketing, where have we come, how visible are we online with our digital presence? What's our average position on Google in terms of when people search for architects? Where do we come up? How high do we come up? You can see in March this year, Google made a massive update to how they do their search. And integrating AI, changing their algorithms, blah blah blah, and that had a massive impact. Negatively, we built ourselves up in Aura to kind of really really good place, and then Google came along and it smashed back down again. So now it's a case of Marcin, my digital marketing guy, kind of stabilizing that and then starting to grow again. So you can sort of see we've stabilized. We're still bouncing around a little bit on certain things, but fundamentally we're getting back to where we want to be. Keyword tracking is always really important for any business. We've focused heavily on search engine optimization over the last couple of years. I say probably 8 years. From day one, my goal was to kind of get Aura to a place where organically we do appear, in Google search terms, generate work through that organically without fail. And we do that by, ranking in the top sort of 4 or 5 for various things like architects in West London, architects in Southwest London, architecture and interiors. All of these figures on the right hand side are the number of searches that happen every month for those search terms. So 1,600 people every month are searching for residential architects, and we are fourth on that list. So the likelihood is that there'll be quite a few people clicking that link and finding us, which is exactly where we want to be, to win new business, to win new instructions. Just a little bit about some of the projects we're working on at the moment, just in case anyone's watching this and has any similar ones and wants to instruct or to work with them. Edith Street in Primrose Hill, we've got an incredible sort of 4-story plus basement townhouse in these sort of gorgeous muses, very expensive area of London. We're digging down the basement, refurbishing throughout, updating and improving the loft, adding a 2-story rear extension to this outrigger, probably going to end up spending £1.5 million. And we're working with a company called Hawksmoor, who do some incredible work. I met the owner of Hawksmoor about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been wanting to find a project that we can work on together, because the quality of what they produce is incredible. And I'm looking forward to sort of seeing how that progresses. They're never the cheapest, but the quality of their product is second to none, and you see that on their Instagram channel if you go over to follow them. Thought I'd throw this one in there because it's really interesting. I've never had to deal with this with a private residential home, but just to paint the picture in this bottom left-hand side. And if you're not tuning in on video format, you're missing out on this one, because there's so many slides to go through, so many visuals. If you are tuning in on audio, flip open Spotify on your phone. The video content should still be on Spotify, but if you can't tune in on a video format like YouTube at the time, make sure you when you do get the chance, tune in on YouTube, subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff, and watch the actual video podcast, because that's where the value is. Donny Place, again, Marylebone, really, really expensive area of London, and this is actually a tube line. I think it's the Central Line. Whatever one it is, the property that we are refurbishing and extending is this one, directly above the train line. So if you imagine a contractor is going to have a lot of other things in place to do this. Connection with TfL, so building on or near a railway, huge amounts of structural engineering and calculations and checks to do, lots of different applications and licenses with TfL, lots of risk in terms of the building works. We're looking to extend this outrigger up, refurbish the property throughout. If you imagine a brick falls on that train line, it's probably 50 grand per hour of cost of fine for stopping a train running. So a lot of work is going to have to go into this. A lot of time is going to have to be spent by the eventual contractor to make sure that it's safe and nothing gets on the train lines. Small project, small house, but very, very complicated, very, very challenging, but we like to rise to the challenge, and it's always good to do something new like this. Another new venture or an area of London that we've not done a huge amount of work in. We did a massive 4,500 square foot family home on Trinity Road in Wandsworth, which had a huge basement, 4 or 5 split levels, and this is going to be not too dissimilar. We're taking a very prominent corner plot, which is this one here. It's currently about 2,500 square feet. The client wants to dig down, go up into the sort of loft space, create over a 5,000 square foot house. Very, very expensive area of Wandsworth. Very, very prominent location where this is going to get a lot of eyeballs. It's going to have a lot of positivity and negativity on it from locals, from the planning authority. Certainly not going to be an easy one, but I'm very, very confident that we're going to create something spectacular here. So watch this space. A little bit about some of the things we've been up to over the last 6 months. Been on a couple of podcasts. Largely these 2 podcasts that I've been on is all about architecture and development. So if you're in architecture, if you're in civil engineering, structural engineering, party wall survey, if you're in that sort of technical work, and you want to jump ship to become a property developer, these 2 podcasts will be amazing for you. It's all about kind of what's happened over the last 8 or 9 years in terms of our businesses, how I've kind of jumped ship and done both, and the intricacies and difficulties that you find with it. it isn't for the faint-hearted. I think there's a lot of tendency with those types of people. I've spoken to a lot of architects, and almost all of them say, they want to be a developer at some point, create their own work, be their own boss, have control on the development process, on the design process. And it's just not as easy as that. Design and architecture is one small function of a whole plethora of other things that needs to go into a property development. So you need to learn about all those other things, not just the architecture thing and think that that's the be all and end all. It is a big part of it. But yeah, head over and watch those podcasts, because you'll get a lot of insight if you're looking to jump ship and start your own development business or start your own other practice. We like to keep track on our socials and give everyone an insight into what's going on. We've now hit 275,000 views on our Aura Architecture YouTube channel. We've had a couple of things go relatively viral, 500,000 views on TikTok. We've got some awesome YouTube home tours of finished projects that we've worked on over on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to the Aura channel, then head over there for some property porn. And then we talk about on our strategy days about what's happening in the future, what we're looking to do into 2026. And this year is all about the divide. It's splitting out the developer side of the business from the architecture and residential side of the business. I think it's probably taken us 4 or 5 years too long to do this. And it's about time, really. A lot of clients probably getting confused from a residential perspective, seeing posts around adding value to property developments and 4 houses, 20-unit office conversion. It's not really what a residential client wants to see. And likewise, a developer client probably doesn't want to see a single kitchen extension or refurbishment of a 3-bedroom flat. So we're dividing them. We've already set up the YouTube channel. Again, go over to Aura Architecture for Developers. There'll be lots of educational content around there. There'll be lots of guides to commercial conversions, how to get through planning permissions, how to maximize and optimize your properties and your developments and your investments. And yeah, hopefully that will help paint a clearer picture, help us talk very, very clearly to the specific type of client that we want to be working with in each part of the business, and not mix messages too much. The other element that we're bringing, and we may win our first project for this soon. I'm really hoping we do. Watch this space. But we want to be, as an architectural practice, as a design business, as a studio, be offering property marketing to our development clients. I think, having worked for the Berkeley Group, front end of the project isn't just about the getting through planning. At that point, you should be looking at marketing, demographic, brand identity, interior design. What that drives the development mix, the planning approval that you go for. So you need to be doing that up front. And I want to be bringing that type of property marketing where we're creating brochures, we're creating the micro websites, we're creating the hoarding design, the brand identity of what you're trying to achieve as part of our architectural work, as part of our interior design work. And bringing that to other property developers. So watch this space. If you want to work with a architectural practice that ultimately, the goal is to optimize gross development value, reduce build costs for you as the developer, and basically put more bottom line profit in your back pocket. So yeah, happy to have a chat about some feasibilities or review some projects that you're reviewing or that you're looking at, and guide you in the right direction and hopefully work with you. Cool.
Shall I take the reins on this one?
Yep.
XP Properties. So actually the largest of the businesses by value, probably the most exciting from a viewer's perspective. But projects, whether it's a house or development, we see
probably the most challenging.
Yeah, stressful. Yeah. So we run through all of the previous / existing projects that we're finishing off. And then we go on to talk about new projects as well. So this project, we should have put it on there really, won 2 awards, Property Deal of the Year at the Developers Club, and also Property Deal of the Year at the Property Investor Awards. It was just a really good deal. Asset management bought a block of 14 flats, pretty much renovated all 14, including taking the whole roof off and creating a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom HMO. I actually rode past here today with the bank manager, And I sort of reminisced on this site. Ben, do you remember we bought this during COVID when like everyone was scared of their own shadow? And we kept running numbers and numbers and numbers, and I was like, I can't see how this can go wrong. The rent roll day one pays for the serviced development facility. So even if it takes us 4 years to deliver it, as long as we've got the rent roll coming in, it works. So really good deal. Good equity margin, which is stuck in the deal, unfortunately, but we keep that for rent roll. On to the next one, which I think is Marlow. So this site also won an award fairly recently, which we'll come on to later. We've bought a part office, part dance studio on the secondary high street in Marlow, lovely town in Buckinghamshire, not far from where I live. It was agreed by subject to planning. We bought the site with planning because it was listed, and then we developed 8 lovely homes right on the doorstep of all of the retail spaces in Marlow. The update on that project is we are now completely out. So the last unit is sold. The sales was pretty good, to be fair. I would say in the market that we were in, to be in and out of that from a sales perspective as quickly as we did is pretty good. But yeah, pleased to finish that project, and we'll share a little bit more later on in the episode. The Old Maltings, which I think is the coolest looking site from a build and a character perspective. This one's been quite the challenge. Bits of phasing, several planning applications, delays, etc. But we're finally getting there, and light is at the end of the tunnel, and the product does look good, and the building is an amazing building in a great location in Abingdon-on-Thames. We bought this site as a office space. It was about 9,000 square foot plus some undercroft parking, and we managed to get planning to convert these lovely flats that you can see on your screen if you're watching to 21 apartments. Some are HMOs that we purposely designed, well, only a couple really, but to hold in the portfolio, the remainder to sell. And then we were also fortunate to get planning in the car park to build 2 purpose-built 5-bed HMOs. Colney Hatch Lane, which is, I think, our best product to date. Some lovely photos there. Looks very clean and tidy, which is our site in London. And we bought this as really 2 tired HMOs, subject to planning. The planning application that we ran with, we actually did 2, but which was 9 luxury units. We've now fully completed that site. Just some external works that are being tidied up now. And we've actually sold 2, and we've got 2 buyers actually moved in on site. So then, it's gone from a pre-development site, development site to now a shared home. We've got 2 other units under offer. The market's been pretty good, actually, I would say, all things considering for this site. Comparatively to our other sites, it's performed all right, to be fair, given that there's a lot of naysayers about London. And I think that's just testament to the quality of what we've designed and delivered and finished. So we've got another 5 units to sell. So we'll be pushing that and working on getting these units over the line. I think it's the best scheme in Muswell Hill if you are looking for housing in Muswell Hill. I cannot actually get over how cheap the 1-beds are. I mean, it might just be my Henley immunity that I've just used to it, but these 1-bed flats are cheaper than Henley. So why are they getting snapped up?
One has.
I'm sure they will. You can see the brochures, obviously. And then on to St Andrew's Court, which is another PD scheme. This one is actually 17,000 square foot. It's our biggest square footage that we're delivering or have delivered to date. We've managed to get 20 apartments out of this building, including a few offices at one end. And we're in planning, just about to go into planning for a new building in the car park as well. We phased this site very strategically. It was first delivery of 9 flats, then a small office fit out, then sell the 9 flats and move the tenants into the offices, then focus on the remaining 11 units in the vacant building that the tenants relocated from a commercial standpoint. So asset management with regearing leases. Development phase 1 was 9 apartments, which were all sold and buyers are living in them. And then we're on the final phase of the existing footprint, which is the 11 units, which is almost there, to be fair. We're really cracking on, and we've got a show flat finished for open days and viewings. And we're just planning to get this all done and wrapped up by the end of September, and then focus on the potential house in the car park.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually fairly similar to, well, both schemes actually, to one of the open investments that we have at the moment. If you are interested in getting involved in a scheme like this, let us know. Lovely green colours on the colour palette there. Tame is very Hunter Welly, Rocky Road bakeries, and what else is Tame?
Nice brunch spots. Yeah.
It's actually got the best kebab van in the UK. Is real claim to fame. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember very early on talking about branding and identity in the greens. I actually stood in the centre of town with one of our team members with a board, well, two boards, one with the green branding and one with the blue branding, and we did a little bit of market research. We asked people that were walking by to say, which do you prefer, which stands out the most, and the green branding won. So always good to test the market in these sorts of things. A lot of our team wouldn't do it with me because it's not their cup of tea, but I don't really give a shit. It's just like you're walking up to people, asking them what their opinion was, had some interesting comments. But yeah, doing that sort of brand marketing piece and testing the market before going out to stuff is key with anything you do, really. You can have your own opinion, but ultimately you want to be going with what the market tells you is the right option rather than what you think is the right option.
This is our bank in Abingdon again. So we bought a bank, which you can see on the left. What I would say, actually, if any of these projects really interest you, search deep dive on our live video section of our YouTube channel. And we have done a deep dive on every project. So a specific episode in our library, if you want to call it that, where you can just watch all of the, how we're buying it, what the deal looks like, what the design look like, a lot more detail than this. But obviously this is just to run through. So this is the bank. I was there earlier today. So we bought an old Halifax bank, which was a bank on the ground floor at the front with 3 apartments already above it. And then they had office space at the rear, which you can see on the sort of middle and right-hand side. We bought the site, submitted the planning to convert the rear office space to 4 apartments, and immediately renovated the flats above to convert them into 3-bedroom HMOs. They're pretty much almost there, really. And you can see from the images on screen, if you're not watching, not on Spotify, that we have lifted the ridge and already started the roof. Structural work, steel's on site, so that's really starting to get boarded in, starts to get water and wind tight, which is really good. And then there'll be a lot of internal works reconfiguring those. This slide is actually more directed towards size and volume of sites that we've delivered and why we deliver them. So this is I think this is actually, if you were to take one thing away from today's session, if you are an aspiring or already a property developer, this is almost like pivoting realizations that we've had to learn the hard way. And if you can interpret what I'm saying and integrate that into your business plan or goals, I think you save a lot of time. So Ben and I have obviously been doing this almost a decade together in the development company. We've done a lot of sites. I think we're almost up to 30 different projects that we've worked on in this business. And we started small and grew. Weirdly, I don't know why we started that small, because both of us had pretty good construction. Like, I feel like some of the bigger risks from if let's say someone sold their business and they want to move into property, some of the glaring risks are construction. And I would agree with that. But I actually believe there's so much commercially that goes behind any deal, that's structuring, bringing the right team in, etc., managing risk, running numbers, etc., running cash flows. But we started small and grew, and what we realised is the scheme that we sort of shared first, which is St Helens Mill, we were delivering that at the same time as an end of terrace development, so 1 unit new build and 1 unit renovation. And we realised that it cost about the same amount of time once we'd done the connections, footings, I think we had an archaeological survey viewing us digging out the footings and stuff, and did this technically 2-unit scheme or even 1.5-unit scheme, which is under a mile away from St Helens Mill. And we delivered this 14-unit scheme. The work was similar, like the amount of time it took the team to do that was similar. Obviously, St Helens Mill was a home run, so maybe we were brought into this false pretense that every big development is really profitable and look, you can make 7 figures. Let's do loads of these. I want 6 of these. Not quite. It's tough, but we did recognize one thing. We did recognize is that sometimes you do get a decent economies of scale with bigger projects. The benefit of that is the time that you're spending on those projects is better paid. So if you're doing a 5 million GDV site and you try to make a 7-figure sum, or you do a 500k GDV site and you're trying to make the same percentage, the return on your time is greater for bigger projects. So we analyze that and we bake that into what we bid on. And the way that we do that is we allocate ideally £200,000 per year per scheme in XP Property. So if we're doing 3 projects, we know that we've already analysed the net amount that's retrospectively, hopefully funding that business it's running to operate that. But we'll caveat that with, and this is why we were sharing this on the screen, looking at that amazing double award-winning deal, 3.4 million GDV valuation, something like 37% return on GDV that scheme was. It was absolutely out of this world. But the return on equity that we get on that, the return on equity that we get on that project, and actually the net income is actually only about 3% of our business overheads. So it's not really moving the needle for us. So we have actually acknowledged that cluster HMOs, cluster flats, high yielding assets that are smaller that we hold might actually be also a great addition to our pipeline and our delivery. So keep the big deals, maybe get rid of the small build to sell deals. But if we do a build to rent cluster HMO or mixed use scheme or whatever it may be with a high yielding prospect, we will allow slightly smaller projects coming in. And the reason being is because even though it might fall below the threshold of £200,000 net per year, it's paying us years beyond because it's a rental model. So that's the analysis and the thought process. You can see that some of our smaller deals well outperform are some of our larger deals, and having that analysis of trying to bring in rent roll against your overhead baseline is really key, because developments is really lumpy and unpredictable, and sometimes might get delayed, and sometimes you might have to leave the equity in the deal for a year and rent it out. And if that renting it out is a low yield on your overheads or low yield on the cash, then how can you sort of build out a goal of a pipeline where actually you're thinking, what does this business cost per year? How can I make a big dent in that in a rental model as well as a development model build to sell? So that's the ethos behind this slide, and to tell people that we don't mind a little deal anymore. I say little, they're like 1.5 to 3 million GDV schemes. So
I mean, in the areas that we operate, generally not much is that little, is it? If you've been tuning in over the last couple of months, you'd have heard us talk about the sales process. It is a very, very bad sales market at the moment. And we decided to basically bring some of that in-house and bring back some of the control. So I actually joined the EXP network of sales agents that operates across the UK. There's over 1,000 agents now, self-employed agents, to effectively utilize their network and back end to sell our own stock initially. So we are at the moment on site with 30 units, which we're selling across the ones that we do have brought to the market. And by using the EXP network, we get access to post on Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market. We have been running our own meta campaigns, our own marketing material to effectively try and sell our own stock. And we've had real success. The Colney Hatch Lane, Muswell Hill project that we spoke about earlier, having 2 sold and 2 under offer. The 2 under offer were after about 3 weeks of our own meta campaigns to local potential buyers, and both those 2 were from the meta campaigns that we'd operated. So straight away we'd almost we'd made the money back on those straight away. It's not as easy across the all of the sites. It is a really, really stagnant market. It's very, very tough. But we felt like by bringing this in-house, we give a bit more control. We also have the opportunity now to build our own almost off-plan sales consultancy. We've got a lot of our mentees asking us to sell their own stock. They've seen some of the success that we've had with some of our proper projects, and there's no reason why we can't offer that. I feel like as an agency, as a developer, we are always the ones, and this is something that I've taken from the Berkeley Group, really talking about front loading all of that brand identity and marketing stuff. We're the ones creating the brand identity, the CGIs, the brochures, the micro website, all of that stuff at the front end, and effectively handing it to an agent to then go out and put it into the market. And then they're doing the follow up and the viewings and trying to secure some deals. Why not do that ourselves? We've already created that material. If we've got access to the portals via Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, and we've got a network of agents to tap into, as well as having our own internal team to do viewings, etc. We felt it was a good opportunity to try that ourselves. And I think what we're learning now, and we're learning in an incredibly bad market, what we're learning now when the market does turn, I think will be a massive game changer for our business in terms of having that operation, that skill set, and the right people to operate our own sales function. And we've actually this week offered a sales manager role to someone that's got a lot of experience in growing agencies, to help us bring that to other developers like you guys that are tuning in at the moment. So this is the sort of stuff we're doing. We're creating our own meta campaigns. We've launched 25 different ads over the last couple of months. We turn off the ones that aren't working. We double down on the ones that are working. We tweak, we improve. We try to get as a lower cost per lead as possible, as higher conversion rate as possible, and ultimately turn some of these inquiries into viewings, and then those viewings into offers, and those offers into sales. So this is the sort of process that we go through. All of our meta campaign leads go into a database, and then we follow up on those those leads. What we've now created is a new Instagram handle called XP New Homes. We were finding that basically pushing potential buyers to our XP Property channel via the ads there, they're going to be basically seeing stuff like this, our podcasts, our behind the scenes footage, our trying to bring new investment into the business, trying to work with new people with our boardroom and mentees and consultees. It's not the right place to be doing that for sales. So we needed a completely new sales entity. This is where all of that good stuff's going to go. We're going to have some gorgeous interiors, some great CGIs, some branding, some really kind of inspirational stuff for selling our homes on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, head over to Instagram and type in XP New Homes, and you'll see a lot of the the brochures, the finished articles, some behind the scenes stuff, but largely from a sales focus. Just quickly on some of the awards that we won this year. So we were lucky enough to win Commercial Conversion Deal of the Year with the Blue Bricks magazine. That was for our Marlow project. Really, really happy with that. And this is just some of the other marketing and PR stuff. Jack and I are try to be all over the place. It's helped us raise over £20 million in equity over the last couple of years for our projects. Raising your profile, getting out there, not being afraid to kind of be transparent and open about the highs and the lows. It is very, very challenging, but an investor's going to work with somebody and people that want to solve problems and are good at solving problems and have resourcefulness and are resourceful in doing so. And that's definitely something that Jack and I are. We get asked to be thought leaders and write articles for Property Investor News, for Blue Bricks magazine, for YPN, for all sorts of other things. I was actually on site at Colney Hatch today with Property Investor News. There'll be an article coming out next month around Colney Hatch Lane, so you can understand a little bit more. We did a little bit of filming. So Jack and I tried to get out there, tried to get our faces, get our story out there, to ultimately attract opportunities, to attract investment and all that good stuff. We're now at 350,000 views on YouTube. We've got over 25,000 plays and downloads, 2,500 subscribers on YouTube. So all of these are great metrics, but fundamentally these metrics need to kind of filter down into investment within the business, opportunities in terms of new deals, new off-market deals, new partnerships, this is the reason we do it.
Ground Up podcast. So a lot of people in our business don't know these forays and these random things that we spin off and do. And one of those things for me is the Ground Up podcast. It started off with 4 property entrepreneurs, all quite different in character, which is myself, Stuart, Ryan, and Dorian. It's launched every Thursday morning. And it's just basically a chinwag about business, politics. We also have our own community. And we also run our own events. And the whole aim of the Ground Up podcast is, one, we thought we like to chat to each other anyway, so let's record it and see if anyone wants to watch, and people do. And also we like to promote just a decent community. There's a lot of noise and fluff in our industry of property. I've only this week heard about a couple of people that are just apparently bullshitters and big presence online, but they're not really doing anything. And that's the stuff we're trying to get through. Like, it doesn't matter where you are on your business progress. Just be honest and be humble and be morally sound. And that's what we try to provoke into our community. And it's done really well. It's kind of like organic self-profiteering. No.
Self-fulfilling.
Prospering. Something like that.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So I shared a magazine write-up that we were in. We were in the Blue Bricks magazine, but also we ran a really successful 80-plus person Henley Royal Regatta event, which was the Thursday of the 2nd of July. Really good. So if you haven't already, please head over to Ground Up, watch an app, and see how it's a lot more informal than we are. I think mine and Ben's shares are very technical, giving you enough information to hopefully deliver on and change your business around. But I think the sentiment that we chinwag about are just general things, and we have a bit of fun with it too. So head over there. There's more events coming up. So if you want to be part of those events, you need to check us out.
Nice. Cool.
So on the acquisition side of things, this is just to share our regions that we operate in. You'll see a dark blue area and a lighted teal area. That's sort of the home counties and London. We're not really that much interested in going much further than that unless it's an absolute home run deal, and it really gets us excited to get out of bed and drive further than we maybe need to. Obviously, if we're not delivering projects and it's just a subject to planning or even a planning play, we will consider further locations. We actually probably do have a delivery project just in the sort of remit of the grey area at the south of London, I would say. Ben, would you agree? At the moment? But yeah, this is kind of our sort of patch. And the reason that this is important is if our surveyor's out on the road and they see a site or meet an agent because they're going to survey a site, they know where we operate, and we know where we operate. Some stats about the businesses. Well, about this, I think this is actually purely about XP Properties. So we've got out well over 1,000 offers. I actually think it's about 12, maybe even 1,300 offers across the board now. We've bought 34 sites. Some of those we've delivered, some we've sold actually on with the benefit of planning. We've delivered over 280 homes. We have 39 homes in delivery. We've delivered over 270 HMO and social housing beds. We've delivered over £100 million worth of developments, raised over £60 million worth of debt, scary, and raised over £20 million worth of investment, and won 8 awards along the way.
Nice.
It's not actually a great ratio when you look at that, is it? 34 sites. I suppose a lot of sites we have probably sold on 10 sites. So we're at 24. Yeah. Like 40% of our sites award winning, maybe.
I mean, that's pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
Just conscious of time, do you think we should like create a part 2? Because we're like 54 minutes in.
Oh, but this is the best bit. This is where all the secrets come out.
Maybe we need to leave a bit of a...
What we're doing is we're doing that snippet of next week when you've got to wait a whole week for Hollyoaks to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. Fundamentally, we're not going to get through XP surveys and central suites in enough time. So I think we're going to probably wrap it up and do a part 2 next week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this behind the scenes look into the businesses. Hopefully you can take away some stuff and deploy it in your own business. I really want questions. So if we're going to do this next week, we want to know what you want to know, and we can tailor some of the the comments and questions around the other businesses to suit those questions that you're asking. So yeah, get the comments down below. I think it probably is a good time to kind of call it a day for this week. And yeah, leave that cliffhanger ready to go through XP Surveys, which is our fastest growing business. Our most exciting business, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the tech and the integration, AI integration that we're implementing within that business. So if you've got a service-based business or you're thinking about starting a service-based business, there will be huge amounts of value in next week's episode when we talk through XP Surveys, how we've got it this far, what we're doing at the moment, how we're taking it forward. And ultimately, this will end up being at some point a £5 million revenue business. That's realistically where I think we can take this business in not a huge amount of time. So if that sounds exciting to you, tune into next week. And then if you're also a HMO developer, HMO investor, you want to scale and grow a HMO property business, property management company, Central Suites, which is Jack's business with his brother Rob, has done a huge amount again over this last 7-8 years, close to maybe 200 beds now across kind of Oxfordshire. So if you're looking to grow and scale a HMO portfolio, next week is not one to miss. So yeah, let's call it a day there. Yeah, have a good weekend, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.